Hey Nate,
Hey there, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
Well, yeah, doing well.
Good.
Got the windows open today.
Yeah, I opened mine too. And hey, what kind of headphones do you have? I'm curious.
Yeah, these are Sennheiser headphones. It's got a little microphone here. It's dead in one ear, so
Oh,
I can only hear out of the left. But yeah, I've been told that the audio quality is pretty good.
yeah, they're a
So
good company. I I've been looking around for new headphones, and it's a crazy world out there in terms of quality and stuff.
it is, and it's hard to parse sometimes.
Yes, totally, totally. It's I spent way too many hours trying to research things.
Well, you sound good today, so
Good, good. Yeah, I don't know what happened sometimes my it just freaks out. It's sort of weird.
mhm.
So anyway, so do you just curious? Oh, let's see, Miriam's here. It's cool. Do you have updates about CCA? We should make sure we have time for.
Well, I have the set of questions that, that Isaac and I had worked together on, and there's a decision point around, you know, sending that to Becky, and giving her an opportunity to kind of decide if that should be folded into an RFP or if it's something that we would directly send to prospective brokers.
Yeah.
So it's timely in that sense. But yeah, I I got feedback from Gail, but not others. So
Okay.
I don't know what that means, but
Okay. Well, let's see if we have time. We'll see if we can give you like direction.
terrific.
Because that would be helpful. But, hey, Miriam,
Hi there.
how are you?
Good.
Let's see if everyone shows up. We have a quorum this time. That would be very cool.
How many do we need? 3 or 4?
Four.
Oh,
That was the purpose of my request. We'll see if it goes anywhere. But I think it's I think it's an interesting option.
Michael, has the town adopted the Mullins rule?
Yeah. I mean, I know the planning board uses it, so I'm sure we adopted it. I don't know. It's probably
It
not,
doesn't have to be, does it have to be like a bylaw?
I don't know. I know that we reference it all the time. So I didn't know it actually had to get adopted. I just thought we did it. Um,
Yeah. Other
so
question I have, um, in the zoning bylaw, while I have you, is
mhm.
it require a 300-foot abutter notifications for special permits?
It's not straightforward. So it's if you're a direct abutter, if you're and then it's either a butter or the
Within
confusing part
300,
is no, it's the butter of an abutter
right?
within 300 feet.
Within 300 feet, right?
And so that's always the confusing part, the abutter of the abutter.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so I have to think I have to do this every time for that category because like let's see. Uh
So if you go to the assessor's map, you wouldn't necessarily be able to generate that list very easily.
well, you might not, but they can.
Oh, they can. Yeah,
Yeah, they just crank it out.
right.
Um, so and that's usually how we do it. Um, yeah, I mean the thing about the abutter is that it's not only just like the adjacent, it's across the street as well. It's
Right.
considered an abutter, and then you've got that third category of the abutter of the abutter, and
Right.
the 300 feet's what's confusing. It's like, are you in a butter within 300 feet? But it's not. It's sort of like you're the second party can be more than 300 feet away. They're just the abutter of the abutter. What makes me crazy about zoning stuff is that it's not written clearly. Pretty much all regulation should have an English major review it
All
afterwards.
regulations should have comma checks, because what I see a lot is just like not
Oh.
enough commas. And so that sentences just are impossible to interpret without commas.
Right, or they
If you
could
have
be,
a sentence that is a paragraph long, you need to have some punctuation stuck in there.
Miriam is just like Dora, open to interpretation any way you want.
No punctuation, right? Got it.
So I think we can start because we're a quorum. So, hallelujah. So I'll call us to order at 12:19, take two.
Again.
And Miriam, Gail was taking minutes the last time. Gail, can you still do it this time and then Miriam do it next time? Is that cool?
Okay,
Or do you want to give it to Miriam?
Do I owe you guys some minutes?
yeah. You owe us minute taking.
No, I
Yeah,
mean,
you're next up.
minutes that I was supposed to have taken that I haven't given you.
We're even.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Miriam, do you want to? Can you do minutes now?
I can.
So Gail, would you prefer that? Miriam, do it now and you do it next time?
Will I do it next time? Yes.
Okay, cool. Great. Okay. So I'll just jump into it so we can try to be efficient. So we got a pretty slim agenda. So it's recommending Isaac, it's discussing emails to the legislature, which is Nate's thing, talking about this meta grant, the speaker for stretch code, and then updates for CCA. And then we can figure out our next meeting time. So in terms of recommendations, someone want to make a motion to recommend Isaac Goldstein to the select board for ECAC?
I would like to recommend Isaac Goldstein to the select board as a future member of ECAC.
Brilliantly done, Nate.
I second that.
Cool. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll do roll call. So Gail,
Yes, hi.
Nate,
Aye.
Miriam,
Hi.
and I'm an I. Okay, so I will further his name onto the select board. I already gave Becky a heads up that might happen, so we'll get that going. And then that'll give us the ability for one of us to be absent from a meeting and still have a quorum, which will be great. So emails to the legislature. You're on, Nate.
Sure, great. So this is a letter that I have circulated in two forms. The first time it was a little bit less crafted to our town specifics. So I edited it based on the feedback that we'd had at our last meeting. And I did a couple things with it. But I think most importantly, I added some information and a plea around this ambiguity for the MLP and its implications for setting up CCA. So is it helpful for me to screen share? I mean, everyone probably has it in their
If you can do it easily, why don't you?
Yeah, super easy. So how does that look?
Small.
Okay, I can fix that.
You can enlarge that on your own screen, Michael.
I know, but I was thinking about the general good.
Yeah.
That's
Is that
perfect.
better? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so two purposes of the letter. One is this general point about DPU and its sort of behavior or performance in its oversight of municipal aggregation plan approval. It's been a bottleneck in that regard. And then, secondly, there's this piece of legislation that is sort of it's a legislative remedy to some of the issues that have arisen around the performance of you. So from the previous version, I pared it down significantly. I don't know that we want to go line by line necessarily, but it's just laying out this case around how long it takes for DPU to approve plans, issues that towns have had in its review of proposed guidelines that DPU had put out for public comment. And I included this line around the programs being known as community choice and not DPU choice, something that we talked about, Gail, here. So I got that in there. And then let's see. Yes, we had submitted comments as a committee, and I flagged that that is something that we had done. And then, regarding the legislation, it's merely an expression of support there. And then, as far as all new text, this paragraph around MLP and CCA, it really digs in to a specific passage around municipalities shall not aggregate electrical load if such are served by an existing municipal light line. And then, mentioning that Shutesbury, can't even do anything with MLP other than support broadband, as I understand it. And then making the plea that this language be clarified to remove the ambiguity. Gail, you have your points here.
I would make that sentence slightly different. Although Shutesbury cannot serve electric, it sounds like it can't.
Mhm.
But what we really is the case, it's not allowed under terms of its own.
Mhm.
Terms of what?
I guess it would be a charter.
I can, that's something that I can confirm
Yeah,
with authorizing.
it may be not authorized or not allowed.
Mhm.
I think not allowed.
Yeah, we could just say not allowed and not give the specifics.
There
So
you
it just says,
So Shutesbury is not allowed to serve electrical load.
and just leave the under the terms out.
Okay.
Well, the rest of the sentence doesn't follow.
Oh,
Just say Shutesbury is not allowed to serve electrical load under the terms of our charter, period. And get rid of the rest. And then you could say the H 3852 could be interpreted to exclude Shutesbury from.
Instead of cutting all that out, though, if you go, even so, H 32 states that municipalities shall not aggregate if they are served by a municipal plan, comma.
But Shutesbury is not allowed. Period.
Right.
So it'd be after plant, comma.
Okay, I'm back to even so. And after.
Yeah, go back to that. You see where it says served by an existing municipal plant,
Comma.
Yep.
a comma, and then get rid of although.
Comma instead of the period after
Yep.
plant.
And then say, but Shutesbury is not allowed.
Mhm.
To serve
then-
electrical load under its own term, under its town terms, under its operational terms.
Mhm.
Or its MLP operation terms, period. Period.
I don't want to throw other towns under the bus, but this point that there are other towns with
It's
MLP.
important.
Yeah,
I think you just say other
Okay.
towns are similarly affected.
Yeah. Okay,
um,
and they already have municipal aggregation. I think is an important.
Right.
oh, then let's go back. I see, I didn't read it that way the first time around. If we go back to lighting plant, period,
Mhm.
and then put back, although Shutesbury is not allowed,
Other towns are.
there are other towns with broadband hyphen exclusive MLPs that do have municipal aggregation.
Mhm.
That do have, that do. MLPs that do. Broadband exclusive.
Right there.
That do have, yeah.
Nope.
MOPs that do have.
That's not a complete sentence.
Who cares?
Oh, it is.
Other towns with broadband exclusive MLPs that have municipal aggregation, something.
How about
You just say that there are other
Yes.
towns.
That okay. Yeah.
I don't know if I can take minutes, guys, because there's a cat.
you have to?
He's loved right now, so.
So
I-
so I would say just in the interest of time,
Yep.
if we approve it, we can let Nate sort of just finalize the wordsmithing. But are we, I guess I'm thinking we should take a vote to sort of endorse sending this on behalf of ECAC.
Wait a minute. Aren't we under the time frame simply because of Isaac's lunch break? If he's not here, we don't have the time frame, right?
Oh, I guess that's true. Well, yeah. That's true. I mean, it's up to, I don't know what everyone else opted in for. So I was trying to keep it short in the middle of the day, but
Sure, yeah, but I'd like to get this done. cleanly.
okay. Okay.
That's my 2 cents.
Well, we're almost there, so go for it.
Can I read it out loud so we can just hear how it sounds?
Yeah.
Although Shutesbury is not allowed to serve electrical load under our MLP operational terms, there are other towns that have broadband exclusive MLPs and municipal aggregation.
Then shouldn't they not? If this bill is gonna exclude,
Well, that's the threat. The language in the bill leaves open that interpretation.
And the current policy has this same language.
Yes.
So it's not.
so how
I
did they end
wouldn't-
up with it and we're not getting it?
Yeah. Well, I think we want to stress the fact that they have it, we don't, as opposed to take it away from them. So I think the way Nate's written it is, we're pointing that out. They already have it.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Great.
And we
Yeah.
don't know the answer to that question, Miriam. They just have it. Someone was either not paying attention or decided to pay attention belatedly. One
You
of the
don't
two.
need the bold type. There you
Cool.
go.
Are we happy campers?
Yeah,
Okay. So someone make a motion to approve sending this on behalf of ECAC, please? If so moved.
so move.
Okay. I'll second it. So, any other discussion? I have one thought, Nate, which is, I read in the Gazette yesterday about Melissa Hopper, the climate chief's report to the
Yeah.
governor. And I was skimming the report last night, and she makes mention of MLPs, not about this issue, but I was going to send her a little email just because I'm in communication with her about MLPs. But my only thought is it might be worth sending this to her because her
Mhm.
charge is really looking across agency activity, and this is clearly under the purview of the governor. So,
Yeah.
Nate, if you go back up to, although they've got a couple of extra spaces
Oh,
after,
yeah.
thank you.
so you guys good if we also send this to Melissa Hopper?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
Great.
And Nate,
And put her as a
it's
CC on this?
yeah, yeah. I would think so. And it's the Office of Climate, and it's in the governor's office. So it's at the State House, whatever the governor's office address is. But that would be great. So why don't we vote? So Miriam,
Yes, aye.
Gail,
Hi,
Nate,
Aye.
and I'm an I. Great.
Great.
Nate, thank you for doing this work.
indeed.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is for Senator Comfort and Representative Saunders and Climate Chief. And I'll CC ECAC and Select Board.
Great. That sounds great.
And
Right.
what's
Cool.
what's her face?
Melissa Hopper,
Thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome. That's her nickname. Watch her face.
what's her face?
Uh,
My best friend, what's his name?
So in terms of next thing is the Meta grant. So between when we were supposed to meet,
Did you just say what the meta?
yeah, META.
Okay,
I don't remember what it stands for, but it was
oh, right.
I was told about it a week or two ago by Zara Dowling, who works with the Clean Energy
All right.
Extension at UMass, and then it was in the Green Communities newsletter on Monday, I think it was. So it looks like it potentially could pay for consultants to do the plan for how we put solar on the 5 municipal buildings, which is what we wanted to do with MVP last year. We're told we couldn't do, or this year. I
Michael,
haven't been
one
able.
thing,
Yeah.
I don't know if you looked in the application, it looked like you needed to have a fair bit of technical design work front loaded.
I haven't looked at it at all. So what I was going to say is I haven't looked at it. What I was going to ask ECAC is if it makes sense, because the select board's going to have to approve it anyway, that we just give it a green light as a committee. I can look into it. I think we discussed this last time when we had our non-meeting, that if it made sense, I'd try to just begin writing it and then figure out how to share it out. It's due November 17th, so I'm highly skeptical we can get this in time. It'd been nice if Green Communities gave us a newsletter that came out a little bit earlier. But I didn't want to write it before at least the committee said this is a worthwhile thing to investigate. If we go forward, we should. So
Yeah,
if that-
I think it's worth pursuing it. It looked to me like there were a lot of requirements for
Yeah.
engineering design, which
Yeah.
is always the problem with these grants.
Yeah, well, that might be prohibitive. I mean, is there anything else you want to share just because you looked at it and I didn't?
That's just what I saw, was that there were requirements there was a whole list of things that they required, and I was thinking we don't probably have most of those, but maybe we do for some of it for the solar. I'm not sure. How far are we in the design of it?
Nowhere.
Nowhere?
I mean, nowhere. I mean, all we have our MVP plan is that we want to
That
have
we want it.
you want to deploy it to have net zero solar for town buildings. That's as far
Okay.
as we got.
But we don't
Um,
have any, we've never got any estimates or,
No,
I mean,
we were prohibited from going into that until we got the weatherization of the buildings according to
right.
and you could.
And it did require information about the weatherization, so you have to have that documentation for this grant.
Okay, well,
But we haven't got, what's the status of the weatherization work, do you know?
You have to have completed it for this
no,
grant.
for the town, I don't know. That was a Becky thing, right? Becky was having that done?
That was,
Audit.
the audit requirements, yeah.
Well, I think that for this grant, you have to have had the audit and you have to have completed the work that was recommended.
Well, that makes it easy, that we're not eligible.
But you could double check that, but that's what I'm remembering.
Okay, well, I'll look into it. Nate, go ahead.
Wasn't there once a discussion about just targeting something very specific to the library and just trying to find support for that, for which there is at least a drawing.
That was our MVP proposal, which I guess we didn't get because, Becky submitted it. I assume she would have told somebody if we got it. Although there's another round of MVP, so we could ask.
But there could be some design information in it that could be used for this. But
Yeah. It would only be the library because we haven't done anything specific
Right.
for the other
but maybe
buildings.
because it's a new construction building and it's gonna be built to a higher code, that auditing would be moot because you can't audit something that's not built yet.
That's logical.
But you'd have the designs showing that it was.
Yeah,
So that you might, for the library alone, you might be able to. But it would
Yeah.
only, it's only for design, this technical grant. It's not an action grant, right?
I think it would pay for the design and planning of it. So then we would, we'd have all the stuff that we need. Because my read is, even if we get money, the town might have to put money up. So the town's not going to approve anything unless we have documentation. I mean, it's just frustrating catch-22.
What are they doing? Are they just, where did they leave it with the library design? Is it going to be solar ready or are they rolling in solar as part of the design and build?
you need to
I
check
think
with the building committee, the
I
library.
don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the assumption that
Agreements with
we're
the
going to have it.
architects, they already contain design elements for the solar.
Yeah, I think it's planning on solar for the new library, but it was so as to offset the cost was what the MVP idea was. And just as the placeholder, I mean, I gotta say, I feel a little cynical about MVP, so I haven't sort of dug into this year's round of MVP and find out what the deadlines are. But I have, there's been these announcements, so I think for what it's worth, we should look at that and see, like, maybe if they change their tune in any way. It's just very frustrating to not be able to go forward with this stuff. Okay, well, I will look at it. If I find anything encouraging, I'll sort of share it out, see if we can get it. But even if we were right, it means that we have to have the select board approve it. I think November 8th is their next meeting. So we shall see. It's all unfortunately tight. So speaker for the stretch code presentation. Nate, that is you again.
So I reached out to Chris Mason, who had, offered to provide a speaker, and where we left things was, could we get a speaker, sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas, or, maybe we should be looking at the new year. And Chris responded that, yeah, sooner is certainly a possibility. And he asked some questions that were geared towards getting a better understanding of what the audience might be. And, maybe with an eye towards identifying possible concerns that our town specifically might have around building codes. So, for example, what's the take of our building inspectors, or are there other like committees or constituencies that might be stakeholders in some way to a change in the building codes? Like, I know when I'm giving a presentation, it can be useful to give a kind of a pre-buttal to questions or concerns that people might have. So I thought these were good points, and it suggested a need for a little more outreach on our part, just sort of like lay the foundation um, for the presentation to be most effective. And I was a little unsure of, what those constituencies might be in Shutesbury.
I wouldn't think that one of the constituencies or one of the concerns, not from boards, but from the public would be costs
Mhm.
associated with, particularly with additions and things that would be, come under this, that people may balk at or be unhappily surprised to discover. I think we need to be very transparent with the public about what that all is gonna look like.
What are the consequences? Yeah.
Yes, financial consequences, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, from a resident perspective, it's less about new construction, but it's about the renovations. So for whoever's going to renovate, that's, existing residents going to be more concerned if they're new to town, if they're a builder. It's, it's they might be concerned, but they're either not here yet, or if they're a developer, they'll build it. They'll build into the cost of the price of the house. But it's the folks who, like, on planning board, people keep coming to us talking about accessory dwelling units, so how do I add something on? So an ADU would be conceivably, depending on the size of it, might fall into this category.
Right. And building costs have just skyrocketed in the last, since the pandemic.
Yeah,
In
I mean,
general.
and I think, though, I also think it's because I looked at them again before Tuesday, and given the square footage requirements, I don't think necessarily it would hit a lot of people. There's it's significant square footage per renovation, but that would be the pre-bottom, is to sort of say,
Yes.
let's explain how people who have homes in Shutesbury currently who want to renovate.
What is the square footage? It's
It's like
It's 1,000.
1,000.
That's major addition, yeah.
Yeah. And I
So-
mean, it could be cumulative, but even so, it's, even if you're doing multiple spaces, that's a lot of square footage. Gail.
Nate, you might check with the folks who have already presented this in Amherst and see what kind of questions they got or what kind of responses they got to there.
Yeah.
I think the
There's
other
no
one,
hurry to do this, right? This is setting it up for town meeting vote, right?
Yes. If
So it's not like quick,
if-
we got to get this done between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
yeah,
we
I don't
can,
know.
In fact, I think there might be good reason for waiting until the new year.
there is a special town meeting happening in January.
I don't think we should shoot for that, but when is it?
I think it's supposed to be January is what I heard.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I would think doing this more methodically. And so doing this research, doing the presentation, like, if we did like second or third week of January, because then if we felt like we wanted to go forward, we could have a public, I mean, we'll have the session. I don't know if we need to do anything between now and then, because the language is pretty canned, right, Nate? I mean, it's not like we have to come up with new language, really. It's just adopting, the town votes to adopt blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, to approve the opt-in stretch code. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty canned.
So I would say if we plan for the new year, whether it's, towards the end of January, I guess we could even do February if it made sense. But what I was going to say in terms of the building inspector is, all the inspection services go through FERCog.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's two people who do a building inspection. One of them probably just shoots very more often than not. And then I think it's maybe what I'm not sure. I was thinking about, like, if there's a way of, because there's electrical and there's plumbing and there's building generically. I don't think we should be calling all three of those to find out. That seems like a lot of legwork, but There might be just a point of contact, maybe the building inspector. And Miriam, do you know Mo? Well,
Who?
Mo, the electrical
Yeah, I know
inspector on our,
Mo.
I mean, do you feel like you could maybe reach out to him? Because I would think that the electrical part is gonna be, like, he might have an opinion, but
Okay, I can do that.
save,
There's
save-
also somebody who's kind of doing more inspections for Mo. Who is the guy? I can't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Josh,
I can reach out to Mo.
Josh,
Oh, Josh.
England or something. It's on the website,
Yeah, Josh, right.
the
Yeah.
assistant. But the building committee also has in their purview the application of code or the checking code. So they might have some thoughts too.
but the building committee is only for town buildings, right? It's not for, it's not,
Good point. Right. Well, but this will affect,
well,
yes, except it's not going to happen. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once we're gonna build
doing
some
no
more
major
buildings.
renovations.
Never mind.
So those are the only constituencies that I could think of that might have issues.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yes, there might be builders, but we don't have, they're not a big deal.
Not for their personal, yeah.
I mean, my thought was, what about the library? But I think the standard to which that library is scoped to be built would be well within.
Yeah.
That was a consideration. Like if we were to vote to implement the code, and then the library didn't meet the code,
Oh,
then that would be a huge headache for town.
But
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be grandfathered because they're gonna be doing their permitting before annual town meeting.
Mhm. Perfect.
Yeah.
I like your pre-buttal
Mm.
logic. That's,
Cool.
I mean, this is the information that they're going to be.
So I would say if it's, oh, maybe the thing to do when you talk to Chris, Nate, is if it's okay with everybody, we think about like late January, maybe early February for a presentation. We can figure out dates that he's available and sort of, you know, get something secured by our next meeting.
Sounds good.
The fact that he asked those questions is a good sign, because I remember one of the questions that we had about it, is he going to have a presentation that's aimed for big city? And
Right.
not get that we've got separate issues here. So,
So the last thing on our current agenda is updates on CCA. So Nate, you're like the update guy.
Yeah, I've been busy this month. So let's see. Where we had left things with CCA was, Isaac and I volunteered to. No, I'm going to check the font. Make sure you can see this. We volunteered to assemble a list of questions that we would want answered by a prospective broker, with the aim of either sending these questions directly to the three organizations that are active in this space in Massachusetts, or that would be folded into an RFP if Becky preferred to use that approach for soliciting bids and making a decision. So I sent out this questions to ask prospective consultants, and I got some feedback. And there are a couple of grammar points which I would accept immediately. Very good suggestions. And then Gail had a good question here. So I'll just read this out loud. Shutesbury is interested in the use of Class 1 RECs to increase the share of renewable energy in our supply. We understand that some RECs create market demand for more renewables and others do not. How do you think about the role of REC purchase as part of a larger strategy to stimulate the generation of more renewable energy in New England? So the background here, which a broker would, should be up to speed on is that some towns in their aggregation plans ended up sourcing renewable energy credits from High Plains wind or Texas wind. And it's in the nature of those rec markets that they do not stimulate when you purchase them additional investments in renewable energy. And there's an organization called Green Energy Consumers Alliance, which put out this great report on how the purchase of Class 1 RECs in New England stimulates, basically it retires those RECs and it creates market demand within our regional electrical grid to build more wind, build more solar, to create that that investment, if you will. So the goal of the question is to elicit from the broker, how are they thinking about the rec market and the investments that we would make as consumers. How can we maximize the, that purchase to further sort of the green energy transition, if you will. That was the background there, but yeah, Gail asked a good question. What are you asking? What are you getting at? And I understand how it's not clear on its own.
Yeah, but it will be clear to the broker who's reading the question. So that's.
Well, what about instead of how do you think about saying what do you see as being options that would stimulate the generation? What do you, so be more focused on getting them to propose what would, because it's a loaded question. The implication is, of course, we want to stimulate more renewable energy. So if we want to know about what they can offer.
Yeah, maybe how could Shutesbury's purchase of RECs stimulate the generation of more renewable rather than being kind of okay.
I think just seeking out this, I mean, it's a great kind of question, so it's sort of like, I think it's okay for us to presume as ECAC that this is something we would want to put forth, the generation of new RECs. So soliciting that kind of understanding is really on target.
Terrific. Yeah. And I should mention that many of these questions are borrowed or modified from the state guide on DOER's guide on municipal aggregation. Let's see. Another one that I didn't get any feedback on this, but I wanted to flag for the committees just so that it was like clear what I was doing here. We've had discussions about clear cutting forests to site solar arrays. And as we talked about CCA in the lead up to the vote, we were making the claim that the town could request the siting of, or the purchase of RECs that originate in responsibly sited solar arrays. My issue with talking about it in that way has always been, how do you define responsible? I've never felt like that was a clearly defined.
Well, what if you were to say either citing that's consistent with the DOER priorities, or say, renewables that do not involve development of agriculture and forest land? Because that seems to be the primary concerns are when solar in particular is developed on either agricultural land or forest.
Mhm. Yes, and does that include agrivoltaics? I think it would be good perhaps to like expand a little bit so they know a little bit more clearly what we're getting at, but similar to the other question.
But the whole agrovoltaics is another controversy. It's so
Exactly.
So if we
Yeah.
want information to be able to give the public about options that are not going to be controversial, that's because I think that the dual use is super controversial. So it'd be good to know if we could have some options.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe that's the frame. So I agree with you, Nate, in terms of responsible is just too subjective. It's the proverbial elephant. I think maybe saying it's the first sentence seems fine. People have been concerned about clear cutting forests. Maybe the question is, we'd like to understand how the town can get class 1 RECs from non-controversial solar or wind development, including placement in forests, agriculture, forest and agriculture. You could say including dual use. But the controversial thing I think is probably a good way to go. Because the unsaid part is like, so what's not controversial? Canopies are not controversial. Placement in non-forest is not controversial. That
Well,
kind
if
of
you
stuff.
look at just the DOAR siting priorities, right? So,
Yeah.
forest, biomap, even agricultural land are
Bottom of the list.
at the bottom of the list. And have to.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could just cite that report in alignment with the state priorities from the DOER. I mean, it's only about solar, but it would carry over to wind as well, probably.
I suppose there's controversy about wind.
You're not going to get wind in Massachusetts.
Well, there's some, but not a lot. Not
The
Shutesbury.
ocean,
We don't
yeah.
have. Well, the state's relying on wind for sure in that regard.
Yeah, but we're not. Yeah.
But Shutesbury, we're not going to deal with wind. So I guess it's a good way to go.
Well, I mean, we could get RECs from wind
Yeah.
Absolutely.
generation.
From the plains of Texas, as you said.
Yeah, as far away as Texas. Okay, let's see.
Well, it gets to your other question. I mean, the premise of the other question is we have a preference for regionally generated RECs, where possible, given that would be expanding the market. So they sort of go in tandem in that regard.
Right.
And
It could
quotes
also be
about-
it could also be hydroelectric in this mix, right?
Scare quotes
Yeah.
around responsible siting.
I think we're getting rid of responsible.
Mhm. Well,
Is this
or
fun?
citing in environmentally sensitive areas. That's not so hard to define.
Oh, it all depends on
I guess it's all sensitive.
where you're
I
coming
think
from.
so. Yeah. Okay. I think that's super helpful. Definitely an improvement here.
Are you going to leave that last sentence in then?
How could the concept of
Oh yeah,
responsible siting be defined in a
That's
bid?
where I put the scare quotes.
Yeah.
why don't we just say how could these concepts be defined in a bid? Because
The concept being controversy, or the concept being
No,
or how about these approaches? So non-controversial.
yeah. I think they'll know what we're talking about. Yeah, this won't be new terrain for any broker. Let's see.
especially in this neck of the woods. These guys have met it before.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I would add, and that's this first new sentence, we would like to understand.
Yes.
After controversy, it might be able to say, uh, to get their assessment of viability. I mean, they could easily say, nice idea, you can't get it on the market.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, just that reality check. Because someone might say you can't do it because it's too much of a hassle. Someone else could say, yeah, it takes a little work, but we can manage that.
Right. Um, so the framing here is now avoid controversy,
I might
but
like to,
or let's see.
it could just be another separate sentence, like, how would you assess the viability of doing this or something like that?
Mhm. Would such an approach be viable?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Or practicable.
Okay.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Great.
All right.
So in terms of next steps, the other part of your question was, should we send it to Becky or not, right?
Well, I think we'd agreed to send it to her in a time-bound package.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So
that
what would work for you? I mean, I think that was smart of us, now that you remind us of
was
it.
your idea.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Um,
it seems like we could ask for it before Thanksgiving, by the end of November, something like that.
yeah.
It's my hunch is that there'll need to be reminders if you want that to happen, but
And the ask is a review and a determination of how we should go about it. Because I think the time-bound part was if we don't hear anything, then
We go.
we'll just send this to
right.
the workers. Yeah. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
terrific.
Yes. Why don't we just say the end of November, and then we could, if we haven't heard, we can decide at our December meeting to send it out.
That sounds good. Yeah, good.
In a tone of cooperation, conciliation, not threat or dare.
Of course. Good reminder. But yes,
Just imagine how the question could be read at the other end.
Yeah, I'll run my draft past Michael. Or
yeah, that sounds cool.
Okay.
Great. So we've done our agenda. I think the only last thing was just talking about next meeting dates. And
Yeah,
I didn't put it on there. We do it next time, not the end of the world.
well, then we'll have 2 minutes to. Okay,
Compared to other committees, 2 minutes is pretty good.
okay.
So I looked at November for a regular November meeting, and the third Tuesday is the week of Thanksgiving. So I would say the week after, do the fourth would be the logical one. But open to comment. That would be the 28th as opposed to the 21st.
28th of
November. So
Yeah.
it's the way these things fall. I think I would have preferred to do the 21st, but that seems just like a setup.
Yeah. 28th is fine for me.
Cool.
wait,
yeah, two.
what?
November
Yeah, November
28th, Tuesday.
Tuesday. Got it. Thank you.
Cool. So that's good with you, Gail?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So I'll set that up and I'll let Isaac know. This was great. I think we did a superb, like, figuring out how to do this after Tuesday. So thank you all for your flexibility.
Thank you,
Nate.
Nate.
Can I have a 5-second update before we adjourn? The Shutesbury Library has acquired an induction cooktop.
Oh, cool.
So it's not in circulation yet, but they have one now. So
But be ready to submit your request.
get ready to start cooking. Yeah.
I love it. Nice work. Cool. Well, enjoy the climate change induced warm weather as much as you can.
We need a
And,
motion to adjourn.
That's true. We do. You want a motion?
Yeah, I move.
A second.
Okay. Nate,
Aye.
Gail,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
and I'm an I. We are
Bye.
adjourned.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Back to the garden, last day of cutting back.